Lovers and the Dreamers by Elizabeth Scarhart. Illustrated by the Mayor of Halia. Narrated by Elizabeth Scarhart. Chapter 9. Fighting the Darkness. Nightmare's smile didn't waver. This wasn't a big drawback. He'd already gained more than enough power. Sans could see that from how much this place had changed just in the time he was with Papyrus. But he wasn't going down without a fight.
Ready?
He asked his brother. Papyrus nodded. Sans summoned two bones, wielding them like clubs in each hand. As the tentacles shot towards the two, he attempted to bash them away, but Nightmare only grabbed them, and Ink had to cut the tentacles away from him. This provided enough of a distraction for Papyrus to leap up and shower Nightmare with blue attacks. He hadn't expected them to do much, since he was staying pretty still, but to his surprise, they connected and did a lot of damage. It was the light itself hurting Nightmare, not the magic.
Sans, switch your bones to blue and keep it up!
Sans nodded and did so. This time he deflected the tentacles easily. Dream took this opportunity to fire more arrows. They hit Nightmare in the torso, making him stumble back in pain. Nightmare realized he was too outnumbered for his usual attacks. Time to use the darkness around him. The walls of the black abyss they were in began to form into a giant hand that swatted the team, trying to grab and crush one of them like a bug. After jumping out of the way of the initial swipe, Sans jumped onto the back of it and bit down, hard. The hand jerked around, trying to get Sans off of it, leaving it open for another arrow from Dream. The arrow hit its palm and it exploded, sending Sans flying into the arms of his brother. Light shone through the hole that the darkness left by the explosion, but it soon repaired itself, blocking out the light again. Nightmare grinned, pleased that he had them on the defense again. He flung 100 droplets of ooze at the team, which hardened into sharp spikes. Ink painted a shield to deflect them.
That the best you got?
Nightmare chuckled. He drew up the darkness from the abyss into large waves that threw the four off their feet. Another pair of waves flung Ink and Sans one way, and Dream and Papyrus the other way. The darkness curled around those two, trapping them. Papyrus and Dream could hear them banging on the side of the bubble and screaming. Before Dream and Papyrus could try to help them, Nightmare spoke again. A large hole formed in the darkness at their feet. Below, Papyrus saw the core. Papyrus stepped back, feeling the searing heat try to cook his bones. He'd admittedly never been this close to the core before. After the accident, he avoided the core as much as possible during any trips to Hotland, and now loomed below him, like a giant beast, ready to rise up and make sure Papyrus joined his mother.
Papyrus! What's going on out there?
Sans' muffled cries brought Papyrus back to the present.
A bad dream,
Was all that Papyrus could reply with. That's all it was now, right? Just a horrible memory that was stuck in his subconscious?
Oh, this is not all it is to you.
Nightmare taunted.
This happens to the Papyrus, it's all right.
Dream tried to reassure him.
You have a good future ahead of you. You deserve this.
Nightmare raised his hand and tendrils rose from the moving darkness and ensnared Dream completely, covering his mouth. Dream dropped his bow as he was grabbed and was pulled back so it was just out of reach.
This is horrible now. Dream's right, Papyrus.
Ink's voice could be heard.
Whatever you're seeing is over, and it hasn't stopped you from leading a good life. I said, stay out of this.
Papyrus could see the black dome around Ink and Sans growing smaller. There were grunts as it started to crush them.
Oh no!
Sans could barely shout from the pressure on his ribcage, but Pap could make out his words.
I don't know what you're seeing, but I know we built a good life from the aftermath. And we'll keep doing so. Please, help!
That spurred Papyrus to move forward. He summoned a blue attack and flung it at Nightmare, knocking him onto his back. The impact made him lose concentration, and the dome stopped shrinking. Pap summoned more blue attacks, hovering them above Nightmare.
I won't let you hurt me or my brother any anymore! Papyrus told him, You made the same mistake I did, thinking that day meant I was doomed to be alone. But I'm not. All that day did was solidify that my brother and I would always have each other's backs. We are not alone! Nightmare growled and grabbed Papyrus' ankle with one of his tentacles. He pulled, bringing Papyrus to the ground. This made Pap lose his concentration, and his blue attacks disappeared. Nightmare stood and summoned a Shadow Blaster. Papyrus rolled out of the way of the attack. He felt his bones grow hotter, and stopped, realizing he was rolling closer to the hole where the core was. He sent a wave of blue attacks at Nightmare, clipping his right side tentacles, giving him a chance to stand up. Nightmare tried to swipe him with his other tentacles, to try to knock him into the hole. If he couldn't have Papyrus anymore, he'd feed off of Sans' grieving over his dead twin brother, but Pap grabbed onto them and was flung safely away from the hole. He sent another wave of blue attacks that Nightmare sidestepped. This, however, cut Dream free, who tried to run and grab his bow. But Nightmare noticed and covered it with another dark dome just in time. With no light around him to draw from, Dream was powerless. Papyrus took the distraction of covering the bow to summon a rain of blue attacks. These hit Nightmare hard. Nightmare grunted in pain and raised his hand, turning the darkness around them into waves again. The waves forced Papyrus off his feet and pushed him to the edge of the hole with the core. The back of his skull was burning as it dangled over the large machine. Nightmare placed a foot on Papyrus' ribs, and he grinned his white, toothy grin at Papyrus. Papyrus panicked for a moment. He felt Nightmare slide his body over the edge. Then a thought struck him. Explosions don't happen without a lot of light.
He grabbed Nightmare by the ankle and heaved him over the edge of the hole. Unfortunately, he misjudged how he was balanced and plunged in after him. The core raised to meet him, but stopped when Dream managed to grab the hood of his hoodie. In a burst of light, sound, and heat, a section of the core exploded. Papyrus screamed as he was charred alive, still holding on to Nightmare to make sure that he didn't somehow escape justice. With a huge effort, Dream managed to pull them back to safety before the burning killed them both. Badly wounded, Nightmare's powers waned until they were back in a normal room. Ink, Sans, and Dream's bone were all freed from their dome, all relatively unharmed. Nightmare fled, his plan foiled. Papyrus heaved a sigh of relief, seeing him and his powers go, before slipping into unconsciousness. He flung a hundred drop blah 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 blah. My voice is 100 droplets, apparently. That didn't make sense. Papyrus! What's going on out there? Oh, wait, it's muffled. Papyrus! What's going on out there? Better.
All that day did was solidify that my brother and I would always have each other's backs. We are not alone.
If this night is not forever, at least we are together. I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone. Anywhere, whenever, apart but still together. I know I'm not alone. I know